A friend of mine on Instagram had asked me, hey, I want to know how you get the models that you shoot with. And it's a complicated but simple answer. So the simple answer is don't be a creep, right, as a guy. There are different levels of models out there. So each model is a little bit different depending on what it is. So let's start from the basics. There are new models, brand new to the whole industry. They've never shot before, and they usually go to meetups. Very, very few times where you have a model kind of be like, hey, I'm going to reach out to somebody. They usually try to find somebody they know. Or they'll go with a friend to a shoot. Okay, so let's start there. So the new models, majority of time, they're not going to reach out to a photographer. Brand new. Now, let's say the model's been shooting for a few months, and they want to update their portfolio. They may reach out to a known photographer, and at that point in time, you can charge. So there's different levels. So let's start off with just the plain level for a model. Model, usually TFP, they're amateur, they're just doing it for fun, they're seeing what it's like, they get time for prints or time for photos. So that's the first set. The next set is that they go out and they pay for a photographer, and then the last set is that they get paid for their time. So if a model's been shooting for a while, or there's a specific thing that you want to do with a model, as far as like a certain concept, and it's going to take up an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, then they're going to get paid for it. Now it ranges for everybody. I've had one model go, hey, $15, but and then other models are $25. They're starting for an hour, all the way up to $100, $150 for models. I had one model that was like, hey, because we were doing like a specialty shoot, she's like $250 per hour. We're like, well, we were kind of like, okay, well, I don't know if she's that good. But so we did a test shoot with her just to see, and she was really good. She followed directions. She knew exactly what to do. We didn't even have to tell her stuff half the time. So we as a group paid $250 for her to do the shoot, and she charged her for 1 hour, and she did like 2.5 hours worth of stuff. So that's the level, right? Free. They pay the photographer, you pay the model. Okay, where did we find them? That's the next question. Where do we find models? So the first place is Facebook. And I know maybe some of y'all are too young and you're like, oh, I don't want to get on Facebook, but I promise you there's a lot of people that get on Facebook, especially models that are the first time going out, and they want to start, and they go to these Facebook groups, and these Facebook groups are big groups of people that either know each other, getting to know each other, they're working on their portfolios, or they're meetup groups. Like, hey, we're going to meet at a park here and there. So I live in the West Austin kind of area, South area. And so there's a lot of meetup groups in Austin going all the way to North Austin, all the way down to San Antonio. And so I'm in all those groups. So that's the first thing. Go on Facebook, find a group that's your local group, see if they have local meetups. The next thing is Instagram. Find out if there's local groups on Instagram in your area that like to go out and shoot as a group. Right? You can do that. So that's something else you can do. The last thing is cold call, right? You can just go and reach out to a model and be like, hey, I want to do this. Do you want to collaborate? I see that you haven't done anything in a while. Do you want to update your portfolio? And, you know, they may say yes. Okay, so let's do the photography side of it. Let's say you're brand new and you meet a brand new model that's TFP, automatic, right? You're going to time for prints because you're going to practice. They're going to look like crap. A lot of photographers do that with models. Now, I'm a wedding photographer, so I started off, getting to know people, and I was like, hey, do you want to shoot? Got a couple of models that were starting out. We just shot time for prints. The pictures weren't amazing, but I was learning how to talk to them, learning how to be there, crack little jokes, nothing inappropriate, right? And a couple of rules that I always sit with when I'm talking or going with a model: get to know them, find out their name. The second thing that you do is you never touch a model. Never touch them. If you go, hey, I'd like you to move here, and they're like, go ahead and move my arm or move my hair, or you go, hey, I'm just going to touch you for a second to move this, like if it's like a piece of lint or just point at it. Like, everybody's different, right? Some people don't want you within 2 feet of them. Some people don't care that you're like literally 6 inches away, right? They don't care. So everybody's different as long as you get in there. Always go with the intentions of what kind of shoot it is. Don't go to a shoot and let's just say you did a studio shoot and you're like, hey, I want to do a dress, and then turn around and be like, okay, let's do lingerie. That doesn't work. You don't ever do that. So like I said, the first level for beginning photographer with models and beginning models is TFP, right? Collaboration, concept, something that's brand new to both of y'all. Okay, the next thing is you get paid. So a model reaches out to you. They said, hey, we want to do this. You get paid. That's all it is. And then there's a third level where, like, let's say you don't want to get paid, you just want to get the shoot done, but you don't want to pay for the studio. You could ask the model, hey, would you be willing to pay half or all of the studio? So there's 3 levels for each one, right? There's probably multiple levels in there too, but for right now, I'll just keep it simple. Okay, so you go find a group. Once you find a group, you shoot with them for a little bit. You get to know some of the models that are there. You get to know some of the people that are there. You find a model or two to work with, and then you either do a TFP, you reach out to them, or they reach out to you and money's exchanged, or you say, hey, look, I'll give you the photos for free if you pay for the studio. Okay, that's simple as that. Right? You're spending your time. So I'll give you a good example of what happened. So I had been doing shoots with models for like 3 or 4 years already, and I started posting them on Instagram. I met a group that I was bored one day, and I was like, oh, I want to go out to this group. So I went to this meetup. I met 3 models there. It was a male, 2 females, and a couple other photographers. And we started talking. We started laughing. We were taking pictures. We were doing all this stuff. And so the 3 models, I said, hey, can I reach out to y'all for shoots later on down the road? I want to try some studios. So they said, yeah, sure, blah, blah, blah. So I reached out to the male, and I reached out to one of the female models, and I said, hey, are y'all free on this day? I'd like to try out the studio. I got 2 hours. You'd like to come for an hour to take a shot? I just want to try out the lights. I want to try out new lights. I want to try out new gear. Whatever it is that you want to try out, that's usually what it is. You give them a concept, so you send them, let's say you're on Instagram. We're just going to use Instagram because that's how I usually talk to a lot of the models. I only talk to a few on TikTok and very few on Snapchat. So, but it just depends on their age, right? Okay. So I send them concept of what the picture should look like, kind of like what kind of clothes they should bring. And then I verify 2 or 3 times, like let's say it's a month out or 3 weeks out. I verify 2 or 3 times, hey, this is when we're meeting. This is the time we're meeting. This is the place we're meeting, and make sure that it's in public. The second thing I always tell models is always bring somebody with you. Always. Bring a boyfriend. It's kind of hard. Boyfriend's a little weird, but boyfriends, mom, dad, a friend, another woman or another male friend if they want to bring it, and it keeps everybody safe. Everybody's safe because they're protected, and then you have a witness. And then the second thing is always do a BTS video. Like take your camera, have it in the background, recording the entire time. Have your phone doing it, right? So if you have a phone or an extra phone or an extra camera, have it recording, especially the conversations that are going on, especially for the first time if you're ever meeting the person for the first time. If you've met them multiple times, 3 or 4 times, you don't have to worry about that, right? They're comfortable with you, you're comfortable with them, whatever. Okay, so you go, and there's 2 options. Let's say you want to do an outside shoot, pick a good weather day. Hey, let's go do an outside shoot. You're comfortable. I want to practice my flash, or I want to practice the new lens. Let's say you're a bokeh fanatic and you want to do 1.4, 1.2 outside. Then you can do it, right? You can tell them, reach out to them, and then you meet in a public area. Let's say you do a studio. You're never going to shoot at 1.5 ever in a studio. You're always going to be shooting at f4, f5, f8 maybe, because you have the strobes, you have the lights. So you're never going to shoot at a low aperture regardless. So at that point you tell them, hey, look, I want to shoot this in this new studio. I want to practice with a new lens, a new flash, a new modifier, and you just let them know up front what you want to do. Now, let's say a model reaches out to you, and let's just pretend you're like, I'm going to charge $150 flat rate for an hour, 2 hours maybe, $75 an hour. And we're going to rent a studio, so I'm going to charge a studio. And let's just say the studio requires you to have 2 hours, so it's $100, $50 an hour. So you say, hey, look, it's going to be $300 or $250 for the shoot if a model reaches out to you. If you really want to shoot with them, you could be like, hey, look, just pay the studio fee and don't worry about it. Or pay me $25 and the studio fee, and we'll call it even, right? Because some people are on budgets. They work just like you and me. You might be a full-time photographer. You might have a 8 to 5 job, and they might have an 8 to 5 job, but they're a waitress or a bartender or a nurse or whatever it is. Okay, stay-at-home mom. They have jobs. So you have to be respectful of their time too. If you're starting out, you need to tell them, hey, look, these photos might not be good. This is my first time or my third time shooting, and I'm just trying to dial it in. We may not get good shots. You may only get 1 or 2 good shots. And for me personally, let's say I take 100 shots at the studio, maybe 2 outfit changes. I'll give them 20, 25 photos to pick from, and they pick 10. And I'll edit those 10, and I'll pick my 10 that I really like if it's not the same, and I'll edit those. And then I'll send those to them, and they have their pictures. They're happy. They're good. And what I usually do is I try to stick to the same 4 or 5 models. But this is what I tell models in the end. After about 5 or 6 photographers that you've worked with, and more people start reaching out to you, to make sure to get rid of a lot of the creeper guys that are just guys with cameras and that are trying to take advantage of you, or you're going to a place where you've never been, I would say charge them, right? Go in, and then a lot of models are like, well, what should I charge? $25 is usually the starting. $50 is kind of like mid-tier. $100 is like, hey, I've been doing this for 10, 15 years, right? 5, 10 years, something like that. So it's up to you what you want. But I tell models, I was like, start off at the minimum $25 so they know, hey, I'm a legit person. I want to get paid for my time. I don't want no craziness or what is it called? Like the creeper guys, right? The guys with cameras, just the guys with cameras. So in that keeps a lot of those people away. For you personally, if you want a specific concept, and I'm going to use boudoir for this, so lingerie, maybe art, portraiture, nude, you're going to have to pay. You're going to have to pay a model for that. There are no models that are going to be like, yeah, I'm just going to strip down completely nude or lingerie for $0. Nobody's going to do that. So you find like 7 or 8 models, you work with it on a consistent basis, you ask them, hey, I want a concept, I want to start doing boudoir, I want like a portfolio of boudoir. Do you mind doing that? Do you have a price? Do you have a thing? But you don't come out the gate talking to one of the brand new models that you just met, that you've taken pictures with. Hey, I want to do boudoir. I want to see you naked, whatever it is. You don't do that. Right? That's not what you do. You be courteous. You be nice. You build that rapport with that person. That's the big key thing. You build a rapport with the people, and you find out what they do and do not like. They don't like you that close. They don't mind you touching them. They don't like you touching them. They want you to take only headshots. They only want you to take the left side of their face or the right side of their face. They don't want you taking anything below the chest because their bellies, they have a little bit of belly fat. They don't like their legs. They don't like their arms. I have a lot of guys that like to take off, like I've shot like 4 or 5 models that are males, and one male likes to take his shirt off every time. If you're not comfortable with nudity, then you need to let him know too, hey, I'm not comfortable with nudity. I don't like that you're taking off your shirt and your pants, or like you're down to your underwear. Like, if you don't feel comfortable, don't do it. I've only had one model ever be like, hey, I'm just going to change. And I turn around and they're like, it's cool. It doesn't matter if you see me naked or not. I'm changing. And she was from Europe. She didn't care. I mean, I was a little embarrassed for it first, but I was like, okay, if you don't care, then whatever. So, but I've never had a model that like, hey, I respect their time. Hey, there's a changing room here. Hey, I'll step out of the studio while you change. Hey, there's a bathroom over here. I respect their time and I respect who they are, and that's the big thing. And then the last thing is, let's say you are a professional, you found a model you like to do something with, a concept. I would say, and they're a professional model, pay them their time. At least give them a tip, $25 for the hour that they're there, because they got to waste the gas to get there. Some people take Ubers to get there, so you got to give them a little bit of money for Uber. Like, you're using the pictures for your portfolio, they're your pictures. But you don't have to. It's just, courtesy. And then last thing is, like we talked about Facebook, Instagram's a good spot to go find people too. I found an Instagram group there. We worked together, went and took pictures with a bunch of people. But those are the levels. If you ever want to know how to find a model, you got to join the groups, Instagram or Facebook. I don't know about TikTok or Snapchat. You got to be nice and courteous. You can't just start touching people. I do have one story. If you want to stick around, I'll tell you the story here in a minute. You can't be bossy. You have to give them feedback. You have to talk a little bit. You have to make jokes. Nothing inappropriate. I mean, there's just stuff like that you have to do. So you stuck around this long. I'm going to go ahead and tell you a story of an event that happened. So we went to a group meetup. This girl was trying modeling for the very first time. I took a few shots of her. I said, hey, you're doing great. No big deal. I kind of showed her to mirror what I was doing so I didn't have to touch her. So I put my hand on my hip. I popped my hip out. I turned my head. And then she did exactly what I did, mirroring me, right? I'll say your left, so their left side. Some people don't know their left from their right. Education system, what it is. So I said, hey, your left. She turned her left, and then we took some shots. It was great. She was having fun. I was encouraging her. I said, hey, you look great. You look beautiful. You look amazing. I don't ever really say the word sexy unless I know the person. I'm like, oh, that was sexy. But I don't ever really say that, especially getting to know the model for the first time. So, you know, but you encourage them. Oh, I love this. I love that. Don't ever go like, oh, you look ugly this way. You don't ever do it. Anyway, so the rest of the story. So she was doing really well. This photographer came up and is like, hey, can I steal her away? And then took her away from the group, which is a no-no. You always try to stay with the group or at least 2 photographers at all times. So he took her away, and then he got really close to her, took a couple pictures of her face, had her arms up in the air, and then was like right up on top of her, and she felt very uncomfortable. She told the guy that was in charge, hey, this is what happened. We all kind of went to her defense and be like, hey man, you don't do that. He's a new photographer. He was just there. He's a guy with a camera, right? He's just there to get pictures. And he was trying to get pictures down her shirt. He was trying to get pictures up her skirt. He was having her like pose certain ways, and he was real low. And like you can get artistic shots really low, and there's no problem with that. But to try to get her to open her legs and show things that, you know, try to get the shot underneath her skirt, you know, that wasn't cool either. And to get right up on top of her, way inside her bubble, like an inch or 2 away from her face, that's not cool either, right? And so she got upset, and it kind of put a black eye for her on photographers modeling and being by herself. And that's why I tell models, always bring somebody and always be with 2 people, right? Always. If the photographer says, hey, I'm coming, go, hey, another photographer, come with me. Let's get some shots over here. He wants to get some shots over here. The photographers that get mad that you bring your mom, if you get mad at a model because she brought her mom or her dad, or he brought his girlfriend or boyfriend or whatever it is, if you get mad at that, then you probably should not be working with models. There's no reason for you to be getting upset that they brought somebody. It's for their safety and your safety to always bring somebody. I don't really like shooting with models when we're by ourselves that I've never met this model before. 2 things I'm always afraid of, and I've only heard one time ever the story, is that a model's like, hey, come out and shoot with me. They went to a place they didn't really know. It wasn't really populated. And then the model and some guy that she was with, boyfriend or just a friend, robbed the photographer, right? So I've only heard it happen once, not that often. I don't bring all my gear the first time I ever go. I bring maybe 2 lenses and one of my older cameras. If I ever go to a place that I don't know the model, I don't know the place. So if I get robbed, you know, I lost what, $500, maybe $600 worth of gear. It's not that big of a deal because it wasn't stuff that I really cared about. If I build a rapport with the model, then I'm gonna bring all my gear, right? We're gonna go to a studio, we're gonna bring everything. Anyway, I'm pretty sure this is a long video. If you're still listening by now, which I know most people have projected themselves out, at 3 minutes. But y'all have a great day. And we'll see you on the other side. Hey, when this video is coming out, just letting you know I recorded it about a week ago, and I just saw this guy on YouTube named I Am Tongue, I think his name is. He's overseas in Europe. He used to be in Canada. I just saw he made the exact same video as me. So before you come in the comments and be like, hey, you're copying this guy, I make these videos for a couple of weeks. I literally have like 4 or 5 that are just sitting there waiting to come out on like weird days. I'm just trying to see when people watch YouTube. So yeah, that's where I'm at right now. I didn't mean to copy him. If you're in YouTube and you're watching this for Fuji or for anything else, you'll be like, hey, this guy came out with the exact same video. So I didn't mean to. I didn't know. And I guess that's it. I did the exact same video. So it's posting over the weekend. He posted his during the week. So it's not meant to say anything or copy him whatsoever. All right. See you on the other side. Thank you.